Imagine controlling over 60% of the world's oil supply with just a few strategic locations. Sounds impossible? Well, welcome to the reality of oil choke points. Now, you might be wondering, what exactly is an oil choke point? Picture this: a narrow passageway, a tight squeeze between lands where massive oil tankers carrying millions of barrels of crude oil pass through every day. These are the world's oil choke points, the strategic arteries of the global energy system, and they hold an astonishing amount of power over the world's oil market. These choke points are so significant because the majority of the world's oil is transported by sea. In fact, about 60% of all seaborne oil trade passes through them. That's more than half the world's oil supply, flowing through a handful of narrow straits and canals. But why is this important? Well, imagine if one of these choke points were to be blocked, even temporarily. It would cause a massive disruption in the global oil supply, leading to skyrocketing oil prices and potential energy crises. The world's economy is intricately tied to the steady flow of oil through these choke points. Three of the most crucial choke points are the Strait of Hormuz, the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, and the Strait of Malacca. These locations have become key oil choke points due to their geographical position between major oil producers and consumers. The Strait of Hormuz, for instance, is the only sea passage from the Persian Gulf to the open ocean, making it a vital route for oil exports from the Middle East. In essence, these choke points are the gatekeepers of the global oil supply. They are the critical junctions that connect oil producers to consumers, and their control can shift the balance of power in the global oil market. So these choke points are literally the jugular veins of the global economy, controlling the flow of the lifeblood that fuels our world. Now, let's dive deeper into the Strait of Hormuz, the world's most crucial choke point. Situated between Oman and Iran, this narrow passage is a gateway to the Persian Gulf. It's like a funnel where the world's oil flows through on its way to international markets. To appreciate its significance, we need to understand the sheer volume of oil that passes through the strait. Roughly a third of the world's seaborne oil trade and a fifth of oil consumed globally make their way through this narrow waterway. That's a staggering amount of oil, all squeezed through a passage no wider than 21 nautical miles at its narrowest point. But how did the Strait of Hormuz become such a pivotal player in the global oil trade? The answer lies in its geography. The strait is the only sea route from the Persian Gulf to the open ocean, making it the primary passageway for oil exports from the Middle East. Countries like Saudi Arabia, Iran, the United Arab Emirates, Kuwait, and Iraq depend on this route to transport their oil to the rest of the world. Without it, they would have to find alternative, likely longer and costlier routes, which could dramatically impact the global oil market. The Strait of Hormuz is not just a physical choke point, it's a geopolitical one too. Its location makes it a strategic hotspot, often finding itself at the center of regional tensions. Any disruption to the passage of oil through the strait could cause oil prices to skyrocket almost instantly, with ripple effects felt throughout the global economy. This is why the Strait of Hormuz is more than just a strip of water. It's a lifeline for countries that rely on oil for their energy needs, and a potential trigger point for geopolitical conflicts. It's a bottleneck that holds the balance of power in the global oil industry. With such immense control over the world's oil supply, the Strait of Hormuz indeed holds a power that can make or break economies. As we delve into the importance of these choke points, let's take a moment to visualize them on the world map. Imagine a globe spinning before your eyes. Now, focus your attention on the Middle East, specifically the Persian Gulf. Can you see a narrow strait leading out to the Arabian Sea? That's the Strait of Hormuz, the lifeline of the global oil industry. Picture it as a vein pulsating with the world's oil, flowing from the heart of the Middle East to the rest of the world. Now, let's pan out a bit and move towards the southern tip of the Arabian Peninsula. You'll see another narrow passage there, a strait connecting the Red Sea with the Gulf of Aden. That's the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, the silent powerhouse. Together, these two straits form the critical arteries that keep the global oil industry's heart beating. They are the conduits through which the lifeblood of our modern economy, oil, flows. Without them, the world as we know it would grind to a halt. So as we continue our exploration of these choke points, keep this image in mind. Imagine the oil flowing through these veins, powering the world, and remember the immense power they hold. These aren't just geographical features, they are the arteries of our global economy. Moving to a less known but equally significant oil choke point, meet the Bab el-Mandeb Strait. This silent powerhouse, situated between Yemen on the Arabian Peninsula and Djibouti and Eritrea in the Horn of Africa, serves as a critical passage for oil tankers. Let's take a moment to appreciate its geographical significance. The Bab el-Mandeb Strait is a narrow passage that connects the Red Sea to the Gulf of Aden and the Arabian Sea. It's one of the few routes that provide access to the Suez Canal, the maritime superhighway to the Mediterranean. The name Bab el-Mandeb itself translates to Gate of Tears in Arabic, an ominous testament to its historical and contemporary significance. So how did this silent powerhouse become a world oil choke point? Well, it's all about location. Its position as a gateway between the heavy oil-consuming regions of Europe and Asia and the oil-rich Middle East makes it a critical transit point. Each day, millions of barrels of crude oil pass through this strait, making it a lifeline for global energy supplies. The Bab el-Mandeb Strait's importance to the oil industry can't be understated. The fact that it is one of the few routes connecting the Indian Ocean to the Mediterranean Sea means any disruption here can have far-reaching implications. A closure or even a mere threat to its accessibility can send global oil prices skyrocketing. It's like a silent gatekeeper, its power lying in its potential to disrupt. But it's not just about oil. The Bab el-Mandeb Strait is also a crucial route for global shipping, with billions of dollars worth of goods passing through it each year. This makes its stability vital not just for the oil industry, but for the entire global economy. The Bab el-Mandeb Strait might not be as famous as its counterparts, but its voice in the oil industry is loud and clear. This silent powerhouse, despite its relative obscurity, plays a significant role in the global oil market and indeed, the world economy. A clear testament to the maxim that sometimes the quietest voices carry the most weight. Last but not least, let's visit the Strait of Malacca, the oil gateway to the east. Nestled between the Malaysian peninsula and Sumatra Island, the Strait of Malacca is a slim waterway that stretches over 500 miles. Its strategic significance? It's one of the most crucial shipping lanes in the world, especially for oil transportation. Now, one might wonder, how did this narrow strait become such a vital oil choke point? The answer lies in its geography and the growing demand for oil in the east. The Strait of Malacca is the shortest sea route between the oil-rich countries of the Middle East and the booming economies of China, Japan, and South Korea. This geographic advantage makes it an indispensable pathway for transporting oil to these energy-hungry nations. Every day, millions of barrels of oil, that's right, millions, traverse the strait's waters, making their way from the oil wells of the Middle East to the bustling cities of the East. This sheer volume of oil flow has transformed the Strait of Malacca into a critical artery for the world's oil supply. But that's not all. The strait's narrowness adds another layer of significance to its role as an oil choke point. At its narrowest point, the strait is a mere 1.5 miles wide, making it a tricky navigation for large tankers. Any disruption in this strait, whether due to piracy, territorial disputes, or natural disasters, can have a significant impact on the global oil market, causing prices to fluctuate and supplies to dwindle. So it's not just about the volume of oil passing through this strait, it's also about the potential risks and challenges that come with navigating such a narrow and busy waterway. The Strait of Malacca, in its quiet yet potent way, serves as a reminder of the intricate and delicate nature of the global oil supply chain. So the Strait of Malacca, with its unique position, silently dictates the oil dynamics in the Eastern world. Now that we've explored the major oil choke points, let's understand their global implications. The geopolitical implications of oil choke points are profound. They're not just channels for oil transport, but also arenas of power and control. Countries that control these choke points possess a significant strategic advantage. They can manipulate the flow of oil to influence global prices, or even use it as a bargaining chip in international diplomacy. For instance, a blockade or closure of one of these choke points could trigger a global energy crisis overnight. Next, let's look at the economic implications. The oil industry is a vital component of the global economy, and these choke points play a pivotal role in the supply chain. Any disruption can cause oil prices to skyrocket, impacting everything from the cost of your daily commute to the price of goods in your local store. The economies of oil-dependent countries would be especially hit hard. Hence, ensuring the smooth operation of these choke points is of utmost importance to maintain economic stability worldwide. But it's not just about geopolitics and economics. There are also environmental implications to consider. The high volume of oil traffic through these choke points increases the risk of oil spills, which can cause devastating environmental damage. Moreover, the extraction and burning of oil contribute to climate change, an issue that affects us all. Therefore, the management of these choke points also ties into broader discussions about sustainable energy and environmental conservation. So, what can we do about all this? Well, the first step is to educate ourselves. Understanding these choke points and their implications can help us make informed decisions and advocate for policies that promote energy security, economic stability, and environmental sustainability. Remember, knowledge is power. The more you understand these choke points, the better you can comprehend the world's oil dynamics and their ripple effects on our daily lives.